Life is a strange thing. When you're young, you think you have all the time in the world. You waste days, weeks, even years chasing things that don't matter. Then one day you wake up and realize you have more years behind you than ahead. If you're lucky enough to reach 70, you start to understand what really counts. And let me tell you, if you can do these 5 things at 70, you're not just surviving, you're winning. First, if you can get out of bed every morning without needing help, you're ahead of the game. People take their health for granted when they're young. They eat whatever they want, sit around all day, and assume their body will always work the way it does now. But let me tell you, by the time you hit 70, you start to realize just how fragile this body really is. You see friends who can't walk without a cane. You visit people who need help just to stand up. And suddenly, something as simple as getting out of bed on your own feels like a victory. If you can still stand tall, walk without pain, and move without someone holding your arm, you're doing better than you think. Second, if you have people who still call you just to talk, you're richer than most. I've seen it happen over and over. People spend their whole lives working, chasing money, trying to be important. They miss birthdays, they skip family dinners. They tell themselves they'll make time later, but later comes and suddenly they're sitting in a quiet house staring at a phone that never rings. Let me tell you something. Money can't keep you company. A big house feels empty when no one visits. And all those people you impressed at work, they forget your name the moment you retire. But if you have friends who check on you, kids who still want to hear your voice, and grandkids who run to hug you when they see you, you've won the real game. Third, if you can still laugh, you haven't lost the fight. Life throws punches. By 70, you've lost people you love. You've had days where you didn't want to get out of bed. You've felt pain that younger folks wouldn't understand. But if you can still find reasons to smile, you're stronger than life itself. I've met people who had everything but lost their joy. They sit in their homes, bitter and angry, blaming the world for how things turned out. And then I've met people with almost nothing who still crack jokes, still tell stories, still make you feel warm just by being around them. That's the kind of person you want to be. Laughter is proof that life hasn't beaten you yet. Fourth, if you still wake up excited for something, you're truly alive. I don't care if it's gardening, playing cards, reading books, or just sitting outside watching the birds. If you have something that makes you look forward to the day, you're doing better than most. I've seen people retire and then just stop living. They sit in front of a television, counting the hours until bedtime. They have nothing left that makes their heart beat a little faster. That's when life really ends. Not when your body gives out, but when your spirit does. If you still have a reason to get up, a reason to move, a reason to care, you're not just existing, you're winning. Fifth, if you can sit in silence and feel at peace, you've figured out what most people never do. When you're young, silence feels uncomfortable. You always need noise, distractions, something to do. But at 70, if you can sit alone with your thoughts and not feel regret, not feel bitterness, not feel fear, then you have truly lived well. Most people spend their whole lives running from themselves. They chase things to fill the emptiness inside. But if you can sit quietly, smile to yourself, and feel a deep sense of peace, then you have won in a way that money, success, and even health can't give you. So here's the truth. You don't need millions in the bank. You don't need a perfect body. You don't need a long list of achievements. If you can still move on your own, still have people who love you, still find reasons to laugh, still wake up with excitement, and still feel peace in your heart, then you've already won the game of life. At 70, winning isn't about what you have, it's about how you feel. And if you feel grateful, if you feel loved, if you feel alive, then my friend, you have already found the real prize. Now let's clear some common questions. How does a person's relationship with solitude change as they grow older? And what does it reveal about their emotional state? When you are young, solitude feels like a punishment. You avoid it. You surround yourself with noise, people, distractions. You fill every empty moment with something, anything, just to keep from sitting alone with your thoughts. Silence feels heavy, almost unbearable. But as you grow older, something shifts. The way you experience solitude changes. It stops feeling like something to escape and starts feeling like something to embrace. And in that shift, you begin to see yourself more clearly than ever before. I remember when I was younger, I could not stand to be alone. If I found myself sitting in an empty room with no one to talk to, I would reach for the television, the radio, the phone. I needed something to drown out the quiet. It was as if silence made me restless, as if being alone forced me to face things I did not want to think about. I see the same thing in young people today. They are always plugged in, always scrolling, always looking for the next distraction. They do not realize that their avoidance of solitude is not about boredom. It is about fear. Fear of their own thoughts. Fear of facing the truth about themselves. But life has a way of teaching you what really matters. By the time you reach 70, solitude is no longer something you run from. It becomes something you cherish. You start to understand that being alone does not mean being lonely. In fact, some of the loneliest people in the world are surrounded by others. They have crowds of acquaintances, but no true connection. They have full schedules, but empty hearts. Loneliness is not about how many people are around you. It is about whether you feel seen, understood, and at peace with yourself. I have known people who, even in old age, still cannot sit in silence. They fill their days with meaningless noise, constantly moving, constantly doing, as if stopping for even a moment would force them to confront something they are not ready to face. These are the people who never truly made peace with their past. They carry regrets like heavy stones, burying them under busyness, thinking that if they just keep going, they will not have to deal with the weight of what they have done or left undone. But the truth is, no matter how fast you run, your past always catches up with you. And when you reach the later years of your life, solitude reveals whether you have learned to make peace with yourself or whether you are still trying to outrun your own shadow. There is a kind of solitude that feels like a prison. It is the kind that comes when you have burned too many bridges, neglected too many relationships, and chosen pride over connection too many times. I have seen people in their 70s sitting alone, not because they enjoy their own company, but because no one wants to be around them. These are the people who pushed others away, who never made the effort to nurture real friendships, who thought they would always have time to fix things later. But later comes faster than you think, and suddenly you find yourself sitting in a quiet house staring at a phone that never rings, realizing that the only company you have is the echo of your own regrets. But there is another kind of solitude, the kind that feels like freedom. It is the kind that comes when you have lived well, loved deeply, and made peace with yourself. This kind of solitude is not empty. It is full of memories, of wisdom, of a deep understanding of what truly matters. When you can sit alone with your thoughts and feel content, when you can reflect on your life without drowning in regret, when you can enjoy your own company as much as you once enjoyed the company of others, then you know you have lived in a way that was true to yourself. I have learned that a person's relationship with solitude says more about them than almost anything else. And if they fear it, if they run from it, if they constantly need distractions, it often means they are carrying something unresolved, pain, regret, emptiness. But if they embrace it, if they find peace in it, if they sit in the quiet and smile to themselves, it means they have done the hard work of living well. They have built a life that does not need to be filled with noise to feel meaningful. People think that the hardest part of getting older is the loss. And yes, you do lose things. You lose people you love. You lose some of the strength you once had. You lose certain dreams that you held on to for too long. But if you have lived wisely, you gain something even greater. You gain a deep appreciation for what remains. You gain the ability to sit with yourself and feel whole. You gain a kind of wisdom that allows you to see things as they truly are, not as you once wished them to be. I often sit outside in the early morning, watching the world wake up. There is no noise, no rush, no one asking for my time. Just me, the wind, the sound of birds, and the quiet thoughts in my own head. And in those moments, I feel something that I did not understand when I was younger. I feel peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from having everything you ever wanted, but the kind that comes from knowing you do not need everything you once thought you did. the kind that comes from looking back on your life and feeling grateful instead of regretful, the kind that allows you to sit alone and feel full instead of empty. This is what changes with age. Solitude stops being something you avoid and starts being something you welcome. And how you experience it depends entirely on how you have lived. If you have spent your life running, hiding, avoiding, then solitude will feel like a heavy weight, pressing down on you with every unspoken word and every missed opportunity. But if you have spent your life facing things head on, making peace with your choices, and learning to be truly present, then solitude will feel like a gift. It will feel like home. So if you are young and you fear being alone, ask yourself why. What are you running from? What are you trying not to hear? Because I promise you, the older you get, the harder it becomes to escape yourself. And if you wait too long to make peace with who you are, you may find that solitude is not a choice but a consequence. But if you learn to embrace it, to welcome it, to sit with yourself and feel at ease, then no matter where life takes you, you will never truly be alone. Because in the end, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And if you can sit in silence and feel at peace, then you have already won the greatest battle of all. What are the most underrated habits that lead to a fulfilling and independent life in old age? People spend their whole lives chasing things they think will make them happy in old age. They work long hours, save every penny, invest in the right places, and plan for a future they are not even sure they will live to see. They believe that money, success, and comfort will guarantee fulfillment later in life. But after 70 years of living, I can tell you that it is not the big things that make the difference. It is the small, everyday habits, the ones no one talks about, the ones that seem too simple to matter. Those are the habits that will determine whether you spend your old age feeling strong, independent, and at peace, or whether you find yourself lost, bitter, and full of regret. One of the most underrated habits is learning to move every single day. When you are young, you do not think about your body much. It works the way it is supposed to. You run, you jump, you lift things without effort. You assume it will always be that way. But let me tell you something. By the time you reach 70, you will either be grateful for the way you treated your body, or you will be paying for the way you neglected it. People think exercise is about looking good, but at my age, it is about staying independent. It is about being able to stand up without help, to walk without pain, to pick up a bag of groceries without struggling. The people I see who struggle the most in old age are not the ones who got sick by chance. They are the ones who stopped moving, who sat too long, who let their bodies become stiff and weak. A little movement every day, even just a walk around the block, can mean the difference between needing a caregiver and taking care of yourself. Another habit people overlook is staying curious. Most people think learning is something you do in school, and once you graduate, you are done. But the moment you stop learning, you start aging in the worst way. I have seen people who retired and then slowly faded into nothing because they stopped feeding their minds. They sat in front of the television, watched the same shows, talked about the same things, and let their brains grow dull. And then I have seen others, just as old, who are still sharp, still engaged, still excited about life. They read books, they ask questions, they try new things, even if it is just a different way to cook their dinner. Staying curious keeps you young in a way that no medicine ever could. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that friendships will always be there. They assume that because they had close friends in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, those friendships will last forever. But life has a way of pulling people in different directions. If you are not intentional about keeping your connection strong, you will wake up one day and realize you are alone. I have seen it happen too many times. People get so caught up in work, in raising kids, in chasing success that they forget to check in on their friends. Then they retire, their kids move away, their colleagues disappear, and suddenly they have no one. The people who are happiest in old age are the ones who made a habit of calling a friend just to talk, of inviting people over for no reason, of making time even when life was busy. Because at the end of the day, when the work is done and the money does not matter anymore, It is the people you have left that will determine whether you feel fulfilled or forgotten. Gratitude is another habit that changes everything. People think happiness comes from having more. A bigger house, a newer car, a higher bank balance. But I have known rich people who were miserable and poor people who were full of joy. The difference was never in what they had. It was in how they saw what they had. If you spend your life always wanting more, you will never feel satisfied. But if you make a habit of noticing what is good, of appreciating the small things, a warm cup of coffee, a good conversation, the feeling of sunlight on your skin, then you will never feel like you are lacking. I have learned that the happiest old people are not the ones with the most. They are the ones who learned how to enjoy what they already have. There is also something to be said about learning how to be alone without feeling lonely. When you are young, you do not think much about solitude. Your life is full of people, places to be, things to do. But as you age, moments of solitude become more common. Friends pass away. Family gets busy. The house that was once filled with noise becomes quiet. The people who struggle the most are the ones who never learn to enjoy their own company. They feel lost without constant interaction. But the ones who are at peace, who can sit in silence and feel content, are the ones who made a habit of being comfortable with themselves. They spent time reflecting, journaling, enjoying hobbies that did not rely on others. They built a life that did not depend on external noise to feel meaningful. Perhaps the most underrated habit of all is learning to let go. People carry so much weight that they do not need to. Grudges from decades ago, regrets about things they cannot change, anger toward people who have long since forgotten the argument. I have seen old men and women destroy their own peace because they could not let go of something that happened 40 years ago. And I have seen others who lived lightly, who forgave easily, who accepted life as it came and found joy in what remained. Letting go is a skill, and like any skill, it has to be practiced. If you learn to release the things that do not serve you, you will find that life feels a lot lighter, no matter how old you are. People waste so much time looking for the secret to a good life. They think it is something complicated, something out of reach. But it is not. It is in the small things. Moving your body, keeping your mind engaged, nurturing your friendships, practicing gratitude, learning to enjoy your own company, letting go of what weighs you down. These are the habits that make the difference. And the best part is, it is never too late to start. Whether you are 20 or 70, you can choose to live in a way that sets you up for a future of strength, peace, and independence. Because at the end of the day, a fulfilling life is not about what you have. It is about how you live. How can people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s start making choices today that will ensure they are truly winning at 70? When you are in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, 70 feels like a lifetime away. You think you have time. You think that old age is something that happens to other people, not you. You tell yourself that you will take care of your health later, that you will fix your relationships later, that you will slow down and enjoy life later. But let me tell you something. Later comes faster than you think. One day you wake up and realize that you are not young anymore. You start to feel the weight of all the choices you made or failed to make. And by then, some doors have already closed. If you want to be truly winning at 70, you have to start now. Not next year, not when life settles down, now. The first thing you need to do is take care of your body. You only get one. When you are young, you can get away with treating it poorly. You can skip sleep, eat junk, sit for hours, and still feel fine the next day. But every bad habit adds up. And by the time you reach 70, your body will either be your greatest ally or your biggest enemy. People think aging is what makes them weak, slow, and in pain, but that is not true. It is neglect. It is years of not moving enough, not eating real food, not paying attention to what the body needs. If you make a habit of taking care of yourself now, your future self will thank you every single day. Move your body daily, not because you want to look good, but because you want to stay strong. Eat foods that nourish you. Get enough sleep. Take care of the small aches before they become big problems. The people who are thriving at 70 are the ones who respected their bodies long before they had to. The second thing you need to do is build strong relationships and protect them like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. I have seen too many old men and women sitting alone, not because they wanted to be, but because they did not make the effort to hold on to the people who mattered. Life gets busy. Careers, children, responsibilities. They all demand your time. But if you are not careful, you will look up one day and realize that the people who once knew you best are now just strangers. Friendships are not automatic. They require effort. Call the people you care about. Visit them, check in. Do not let years go by without speaking. And do not make the mistake of thinking that love, whether from a partner, family, or friends, is something you can put on the back burner. At 70, you will not care about the hours you worked or the money you made as much as you will care about who is still there, sitting beside you, sharing your memories, and making new ones. Another choice you must make is to keep learning. Too many people stop growing because they think learning ends when school does. But the people who are sharp, engaged, and full of life at 70 are the ones who never stop being curious. Read books, ask questions, try new things, even if they scare you. The mind is like a muscle. If you do not use it, it weakens. I have met people in their 70s who are more alive than some in their 30s because they never allowed themselves to become stagnant. They stayed interested in the world. They challenged themselves. They embraced change instead of fearing it. If you make learning a habit now, your mind will stay strong and clear for decades to come. You also need to learn how to manage your emotions. People spend years holding on to anger, resentment, and bitterness, thinking they are protecting themselves. But all they are really doing is poisoning their own lives. If you want to be at peace when you are older, you must practice forgiveness now. Let go of the small things. Choose to move on instead of holding on to grudges. Learn how to navigate disappointment without letting it consume you. The people who are truly winning at 70 are not the ones who avoided pain. They are the ones who learned how to handle it without letting it harden them. Then there is the habit of gratitude. People chase happiness as if it is something they will find in the next job, the next house, the next milestone. But happiness does not come from having more. It comes from noticing what you already have. If you do not learn to appreciate the small moments now, you will spend your whole life chasing something you will never catch. The happiest people in old age are the ones who train themselves to see the beauty in ordinary days. They did not wait for something big to make them feel alive. They found joy in a good conversation, in the warmth of the sun, in the laughter of a loved one. If you practice gratitude now, it will become second nature by the time you reach 70, and you will realize that you have been winning all along. Finally, you need to make choices that align with who you truly are. Too many people live their lives trying to please others, trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for them. They follow paths that are safe but unfulfilling. They ignore the things that light them up because they are too afraid to take risks. But at 70, the only regrets you will have are the times you ignored your own heart. Be honest with yourself about what you want. Take chances. Do not let fear make your decisions for you. The people who are most content in old age are the ones who lived on their own terms, who followed their own path, who did not wait until it was too late to do the things that mattered most to them. If you start making these choices now, you will not just arrive at 70. You will arrive strong, independent, fulfilled, and at peace. You will not look back with regret. You will not feel like time slipped through your fingers. You will know that you lived well, loved well, and made the most of the years you were given. And that is what it truly means to win at 70. Not to have the most money, not to have the biggest house, but to wake up every morning knowing that you have lived a life you are proud of. And that, my friend, starts today. If you liked today's discussion, don't forget to like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel. So until next time, take care.